Hinduism. In Hinduism, funerals are usually very different from what we see in many Western religions. In many Hindu traditions, the body is cremated, meaning it is placed on a funeral pyre and burned. Before the cremation, the family washes and prepares the body. In some traditions, a few drops of water from the Ganges are placed in the person's mouth. Then they dress the body in fresh clothes and decorate it with flowers. The body gets carried to the cremation ground, usually before the next sunrise or sunset. Traditionally, the eldest son has an important role. He walks around the body while chanting. In some traditions, he places rice in the mouth and pours ghee over the body and the wood. Now here's a detail most people don't know. Before lighting the fire, they carry a pot of water around the body, then break it near the head. Only after that do they light the fire. Once the body starts burning, there's one more step. Someone cracks open the skull with a stick. It sounds intense, but the belief is that this releases the soul from the body completely. A few days later, the family comes back, collects the ashes, and puts them in a sacred river, usually the Ganges. This is the final step. It means the soul is now fully free from the body. Tibetan Buddhism. One of the most unusual funeral traditions is called Jator. It means giving alms to the birds, but most people know it as a sky burial. After someone dies, monks and family members may pray for them. Tibetan Buddhists believe the person enters a stage called bardo. This is the time between one life and the next. It can last up to 49 days. During this time, prayers are said for the person as they move toward their next life. Instead of burying or burning the body is taken to a special place in the mountains and offered to vultures. Here's how it actually works. A trained specialist called a rogyapa carries the body to a remote mountaintop. He burns incense to attract vultures. Then, using a ritual knife, he cuts the body into pieces, removing flesh from bone and feeding it directly to the birds. After that, the bones get crushed and mixed with barley flour, making the mixture easier for the vultures to eat completely, so nothing gets left behind. Family members usually aren't allowed to watch, and outsiders are strictly forbidden from observing or filming the ritual, out of respect. Tibetan Buddhists see the body as something temporary. Once a person dies, the body is no longer needed, while their consciousness continues toward the next life. Offering the body to animals is also seen as an act of generosity. So instead of thinking of the body as something that must be preserved forever, Tibetan Buddhism focuses on what happens to the mind and consciousness after death. Christianity. Christian funerals are different depending on the church. There's Catholic, Orthodox, and Protestant. Each one treats the body a little differently. Catholics usually have a viewing first, where people come to see the body one last time. After that, there's a funeral mass, led by a priest. Burial has always been the traditional choice, because Catholics believe the body will one day be raised back to life. But since 1963, the Catholic Church has also allowed cremation, as long as it's done respectfully, and the ashes are buried instead of scattered or kept at home. Orthodox Christians are stricter. To them, cremation disrespects the body, since it's seen as sacred, meant to be reunited with the soul one day. So burial is really the only option most Orthodox churches accept. Before the funeral, there's often a vigil that can last up to 3 days, and the casket stays open so people can say a final goodbye. And it doesn't stop there. Orthodox families keep praying for the person 8 days later, 40 days later, and again a year later. Protestants are the most flexible of the three. The Bible never says anything directly about cremation, so most Protestant churches just leave that choice up to the person or their family. Protestant funerals are usually simpler too. They are just more focused on remembering the person. Judaism. In Judaism, burial happens fast, usually within 24 hours, sometimes stretched to 2 or 3 days if family needs to travel. Before burial, a group called the Chevra Kadisha takes care of the body. It means holy society. They wash the body carefully in a ritual called tahara, treating it with total respect. Men prepare men, women prepare women. After that, the body gets dressed in a plain white shroud called takrikim. No fancy clothes, no jewelry, just simple white cloth. This is meant to show that everyone is equal in death, no matter how rich or poor they were in life. Now listen. From the moment someone dies until they're buried, they're never left alone. Someone called a shomer stays with the body the entire time, even overnight, reading psalms out loud. It's seen as a way to comfort the soul during that in-between period. There's also no open casket, no viewing. In Judaism, looking at someone who can't look back is considered disrespectful, so the casket stays closed the whole time. In Israel, many communities skip the coffin completely, and the body goes straight into the ground. At the burial, family and friends gather to pray and remember the person. One thing you might notice is that close family members may tear a piece of their clothing. This is called kriya, and it is a way of showing their grief. Mourners take turns shoveling dirt onto the casket themselves. It's seen as one final act of respect. After burial, close family enters a mourning period called Shiva. It lasts 7 days. During this time, they stay home, and the community comes to visit and support them. And even a year later, on the anniversary of the death, family light a candle and say a prayer called Kaddish. Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrian funerals are very different from most other religions. Traditionally, Zoroastrians do not bury or burn the body. Instead, the body is taken to a special structure called a dakma, often called a tower of silence. But before that happens, the body is washed and prayers are said. A dog may also be brought near the body in a ritual called sagdid. The dog is believed to help drive away evil and protect the living from the pollution connected with death. The body is then carried to the dakma. It is a large, open, circular structure built away from the community. The body is placed on the top where the sun, wind, and birds help break it down. Over the next few days, vultures eat the flesh, leaving only the bones. Over time, the bones dry out and fall into the pit in the middle of the tower. Why do they do this? Zoroastrians consider fire, water, and earth sacred, so traditionally a dead body is seen as impure, so burying or burning it would contaminate something holy. This tradition isn't as common today as it used to be. Here's why. Farmers in India used to give a painkiller to sick livestock and other farm animals, but that painkiller turned out to be deadly to vultures. When vultures ate the bodies of animals that had been given the drug, the vultures died too. Over time, this wiped out most of the vulture population, and since the whole tradition depends on vultures being there to consume the body, without enough vultures, the ritual just doesn't work anymore. That's why a lot of Zoroastrian communities, especially in India, have had to switch to burial or cremation instead. Islam. In Islam, when a Muslim dies, the body is often buried within 24 hours. First, the body is washed in a ritual called ghusl, usually done by family members of the same gender. The body is carefully cleaned, and the washing is usually done 3 times. The private parts of the body are kept covered, and the body is treated with respect throughout the process. If it's a woman, her hair is washed and can be divided into 3 braids. After the washing, the body is wrapped in a simple white cloth called a kaffan. There are no fancy clothes. The idea is that everyone is equal in death, whether they were rich or poor. Then family, friends, and other Muslims gather for the funeral prayer called Salat al-Janazah. Everyone stands while they pray for Allah to forgive the person and have mercy on them. After that, the body is carried to the grave and buried directly in the ground, on its right side, facing Mecca. After the burial, the family is allowed to grieve and cry. But Islam discourages crying too much or crying for too long. For most relatives, mourning should not continue beyond 3 days. The main exception is a woman whose husband has died. She observes a mourning period called iddah, lasting 4 months and 10 days. Toraja. In the Toraja culture of Indonesia, death does not always mean the person is immediately considered gone. When someone dies, the family may keep the body in the house for weeks, months, or even years while they prepare for an elaborate funeral. During this time, the person may still be treated as if they are sick rather than dead. The body is cleaned, dressed, and sometimes given food and drinks. Torajan funerals are incredibly expensive. Families have to save up, sometimes for years, to afford a proper ceremony which requires sacrificing water buffalo. They believe the buffalo carries the soul into the afterlife, to a place called Puya. The more buffalo sacrificed, the higher someone's status in the next life. When the family can finally afford the funeral, they hold a large ceremony called Rambu Solo. It can last for several days, with relatives traveling from far away to attend. Animals such as pigs and water buffalo may be sacrificed as part of the ceremony. The more important the person was in the community, the larger the funeral may be. After the ceremony, the person is taken to a special burial place, often a cliff tomb carved into the rock. Some families also place wooden statues called Tau Tau outside the tomb. Every few years, families hold a ritual called Manine. They open the graves, pull out their relatives' bodies, clean them, comb their hair, and dress them in fresh clothes. Sometimes they even walk the bodies around the village. To outsiders, this looks shocking, but to Torajans, it's an act of love. Ancient Egyptian religion. This religion isn't practiced today, but it's so fascinating I just wanted to share. In ancient Egypt, death was not seen as the end. Egyptians believed that a person could live forever in the afterlife. This is why they mummified the dead. First, the body was washed. Then the brain was removed, pulled out through the nose using a hooked tool. After that, a cut was made in the side of the body to remove the other organs. The lungs, the liver, the stomach, the intestines, each organ got its own jar, called a canopic jar, while the heart was usually left inside the body because Egyptians believed the heart held a person's mind and soul, something they'd need in the next life. The body was then dried using a type of salt called natron. This could take about 40 days. After that, the body was cleaned with oils and wrapped in layers of linen. The whole mummification process could take around 70 days. Before burial, there was one more step, a ritual called the opening of the mouth. A priest touched a special tool to the mummy's mouth. Egyptians believed this gave the person back the ability to breathe, eat, and speak in the afterlife. Finally, the mummy was placed in a coffin, sometimes several coffins stacked inside each other, then sealed inside a tomb. They even filled the tomb with things they believed the person would need in the afterlife: food, jewelry, clothing, protective objects, and even written spells. Everything was done to give them a chance at eternal life. I'm Owen's Bible. If this message resonated with you, hit the subscribe button. See you in the next video.